thing deep inside.
Welcome to Bastard Quest. I'm the Game Bastard Kyle.
I'm Todd.
I'm Corey.
I'm Austin.
Welcome to part 1 of our Dune campaign. This is the Feast of the First Call. So, who are you guys playing in this game?
I am the Swordmaster of House Wendt, Gary, Wyoming.
I'm Corey.
Sure.
No, I'm playing Abner Wendt.
Who is Abner Wendt?
He's just a dude, really.
He's the town marshal.
Yeah, he's like the marshal, which is kind of the head of the police.
Okay.
Or secret police or something like that.
It's Gunsmoke in space.
Yeah.
And I am playing Maxim Vito, the spy master of House Wendt.
So, yeah, this is the Dune RPG, the 2D20 system from Odysseus. And without further ado, let's get started.
More detailed explanation. We did the little intro episode. Feel free to go back and brush up on that. It's got more detailed stuff about the world we created, the characters we created, and the rules to the game.
And by this point, you've probably heard the prologue adventure that our characters
I should
went on.
hope so.
Yeah, what are you doing with
It was
your life?
great.
Yeah.
God, we're good at this.
Austin gets hit by a car.
Which is impressive in the world of Dune.
Space car.
The camera opens on space. And there's a giant woman's head floating. No, I'm just kidding.
Virginia Madsen.
No, so we have if this were a movie, right, we would open on space and the camera slowly pans down to this green and blue planet floating in the void, and above it is this massive Guild Highliner. For those of you who don't know, Guild Highliners are the primary way by which people move faster than light, except they don't literally move faster than light, they fold space. And they're these massive carrier ships.
Made possible by the Spice Melange.
Made possible by the Spice Melange.
Thanks,
and so
Spice.
smaller ships fly up and down from planets, dock in these Guild Highliners, and the Guild Highliners move everything in an instant to different star systems. And so we see this small ship, seemingly small because it's set against the backdrop of this massive Guild Highliner, come out of the mouth of the Highliner and head down towards this green and blue planet. And as we get closer to the planet, we can see that the blue is these massive seas. The greens are continental land masses, temperate. And as we get closer to the planet, you can see this huge storm that is slowly crawling across the face of the planet. And this ship coming down, it is equally massive. It is quite large itself, probably about the size of a skyscraper. And it lands on this planet in this massive city called Prost. And you can see the edge of the storm is just starting to get to the city. Then the camera angle switches and we're inside the palace. And far away in the distance, you can see this massive skyscraper-sized ship has landed. And a voice says, well, that's the last beer load before the float hits. So basically the way the economy works is these massive ships land on Prost, where all the beer conduits on the planet lead to, and they take up these huge building-sized vats of beer and fly them up to Highliners and distribute them across the galaxy. But this line is being said in the Green Duke's bedroom, and it's the Dr. Israel Seitz. And behind Israel is the bed where the Green Duke is. And he's this wasted, withered figure of a man. There's this device, this pump attached to his head. And there's like green liquid oozing out the sides of it. And in the far distance, the ship takes off again, heading back to space. And that's as the reins of the float start hitting the palace. And the Mentat Choranvid, who is this short woman, she has the stained lips of Mentat. She said, yes, it begins. And then we cut away to Abner Wendt. What is Abner doing as the float arrives on Prost?
Abner is doing laundry.
Okay, sure.
He's washing. He's washing his rain slicker and his galoshes, and he's got a. I wouldn't call it a bonnet.
Sure,
but it's a bonnet.
Yeah. Now Abner is hyper rich.
Yeah.
But he does.
It's nice.
He washes his own clothes.
he supervises it.
Sure,
It's a hobby.
Yeah, he's real into laundry. He just likes watching it. It's meditative for Abner to watch the clothes tumble.
Oh, gotcha.
at the laundromat.
Well, I was just assuming like Abner's so paranoid that he doesn't let somebody do his laundry.
Well, it's one of his
That's
bunch.
Maxim
One of the
Vito.
bunch. That's Maxim. So does Abner do anything? Everybody knows that the superstorm that circles the planet is approaching. Does Abner, as head of the secret police, does he take any? Is there anything special he does before every float?
Laundry.
Other than laundry.
Special as in like a ceremonial thing, or
It could be ceremonial, or it could be, there's obviously preparations that have to be made before the float and for the capital city.
Sure. Well, he's already arranged for his secret police to like be stationed, like kind of spread out to the appropriate places, where things could happen. It doesn't mean there's a cop in every house or
Sure.
anything, but places where a lot of the nobles are, the kind of shit that secret police deal with.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of buckets out in case of leaks.
Yeah.
And he does have a little ceremonial thing he likes to do before the float, and he shotguns a beer.
Well, I think there's probably a lot more people that engage in that ceremony on this planet.
It's pretty normal, yeah. But he's just dotting his I's and crossing his T's here. And it's the future. He's putting a umlaut on a W. That's another thing that happens. That's a new thing in the future.
Austin, what does Maxim, does he have any special things he does before the float?
Anytime the float comes to town, Maxim Vito takes special care to take in one last, I guess you'd call it a planetary report from his little network of spies before everyone is kind of, for lack of a better word, grounded.
Yeah. Communications are generally not completely cut off, but all the cloud cover and lightning activity makes communication signals from satellites hard to get by, and inevitably the rainstorms will wash out, fiber optic lines, and so it's spotty during the float.
Yeah. Also going through resumes for hiring new spies. Invariably, I can count on losing at least one or two whenever the float is around, because some of them have to take extreme measures to maybe find something out that I ask of them.
Sure.
And you have people spying on the actual storm, which means they sit outside. Like,
Yeah.
still there. Looks fishy.
Let me know if anything changes.
There's a crow's nest on top of a building somewhere where somebody's just, yep.
Yeah. Well,
Norman's
here.
Still raining.
one of the big things in the storm is there is obviously on Jormagon, meteorologists are held in pretty high regard because it's very important, to track the float. And there are other storms that the weather satellites kind of inadvertently dust up. So yeah, one of the main feeds that everybody watches during the float is the meteorology broadcast. Todd, what about Gary, Wyoming? Now he obviously has not been on Jormagon as long as Abner or Maxim.
No. However, in addition to his duties protecting the Green Duke and House Wendt and making sure his Wu-Tang Guard is where they're supposed to be, training with his sword, making sure that his men are trained. In addition to all of that, which you would expect him to do, he's also setting up microphones in his living quarters to record the sound of the falling rain, because he's going to start a side hustle selling Sounds of Nature CDs to help people fall asleep or
The massage parlors.
Yeah.
just getting into the ASMR game,
Yeah. He might want to sell those not on Jormagon. I don't think rain is a problem for people.
Starts saying most people just pass out.
Yeah, it's true. So Gary is in one of the practice chambers,
Yes.
practicing with his sword,
Sure.
and your second in command, Guard Sub Commander Farun Tel, enters through one of the doors. The Wu-Tang guard there beside the door salutes him, and he just stands to one side, and he's obviously got some kind of report in his hand. He's just waiting for you to finish.
So Gary finishes up his training. He sheaths his sword. Hello, Faroon. Do you have something to tell me?
Yes, sir. He shows you a report, which is a schematic of the palace, and there's a door on the one of the outer perimeters. We detected a door breach in Sector 14 earlier this morning. The sensors were deactivated, but we had an unauthorized intrusion. The Wu-Tang Guard is currently scouring the palace, but so far we have yet to locate any intruder.
So what are you telling me? Tell, get it,
Yes, sir. We may have an unauthorized entry in the palace. There could be someone who's awaiting for all of the guests to arrive before making their move.
Okay, keep me posted, and make sure the Wu-Tangs are scouring the castle, and report back, please.
Yes, sir. The only places we have not searched are personal quarters.
Tell you what, I'll take care of that myself. I'll check the quarters.
Yeah. Now, when he says personal quarters, he means quarters of the family. Mm-hmm. So the Green Duke's quarters, and then every family member would have their own chambers, even if they don't live in the palace. Like Abner would have his Abner's room, but presumably Abner lives elsewhere.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
But in this instance,
for the
the party,
it would be
we're all staying in the
for the
palace.
float. Yeah, everybody's going to be there.
Yeah.
So that's in which the Wu-Tang Guard guards those areas, but they can't enter without either the Green Duke's express approval or the individual.
I can knock at the doors.
Yes, sir. As you wish.
Good job.
So that's what Gary's going to do. He's going to, he's just going to go around to the personal quarters. He wouldn't, I don't think the Wu-Tang would be obviously posted at these places,
right.
But Gary's really the only one who can, everything okay in there?
Yeah. Okay. So the Green Duke's quarter, I mean, you just go in and out of the Green Duke's quarters all the time.
Okay.
Because you're like, his, not that there's a lot for you to do, because, I mean, he's bedridden, and Volkart's always there, so. But Griselda's, you do not visit often. So would you want to check on the Green Duke or Griselda first?
I'll check on the Green Duke first, obviously, just because he's the head of the house and just want to make sure everything's cool there.
Sure.
And then I'll go to Griselda's.
So the Green Duke's quarters are at the kind of the apex of the palace, the highest floor, and there's this big ramp that goes up to them. And leading up are all these banners and tapestries illustrating the Green Duke's victories and the victories of House Wendt. At the top, it's these sealed double doors that interlock, and of course mechanical because space. And you gain there's a voice, what's the word? Intercom on the right. And of course you activate it, tell them who you are. And there's a long delay. And eventually Dr. Seitz' voice comes over. The Green Duke is resting, Swordmaster. The only people here in residence are myself, the Green Duke, of course, and Volkart. There's no one else within. The security has not been breached.
Okay, have you seen or heard anything weird?
Nothing.
Just you, buddy.
The Green Duke has been resting peacefully this morning. He had an outburst in the night, but we increased his anesthetic.
I immediately thought he woke up in the middle of the night and wanted to play Outburst. It's a side effect.
Gary just tells them to, remain vigilant, and he goes to Griselda's next to check her quarters.
The exterior of Griselda's apartments are obviously far less ostentatious than the Green Duke's, but there are two Wu-Tang Guard outside and two members of her own security force. She's the treasurer, so these guys are they don't have a uniform. They're essentially just wearing very nice suits, but they're obviously security guys. And they're on one side of the hall, and the Wu-Tang are on the other side. And they're not exactly staring each other down, but they're kind of staring each other down. And the doorways to Griselda's apartments are open, meaning that anyone can come and go, as long as they're at the proper station, which, of course, Gary is.
Okay. So first, Gary's going to walk up to the two Wu-Tang guards and say quietly to them, "How is it going?"
Yeah. They snap to
How's
attention.
it hanging?
Hey, bros.
Yeah. They snap to attention and essentially tell you that it's been pretty boring. Nothing really has happened. They've just been in this, corridor that's part of the family level, and Griselda has come in and out. Some of her servants have come in and out, but nothing interesting.
So Gary just nods and tells them, "Well, keep your eyes and your ears open. It could be a weird night." Then he approaches the door to Griselda's and kind of hollers in there, "Hello in there. You all right?"
So you can see inside the doors, there's a number of passageways off, but in the main central common room, there's couches and these overstuffed chairs, lots of dark paneling on the walls, and this huge fireplace that you could just walk into with a roaring fire in it. And Griselda is sitting relatively close to the fire, going over this sheaf of papers. Probably, it looks like treasury reports. And there's 2 functionaries kind of hovering around her. And she looks up and motions you with one hand to enter.
Real quick, does she have the puke cleaned off of her?
She does.
Okay, good.
It's been a few nights since then, so yeah,
Okay,
she's
good.
showered since.
Thank God.
That was probably immediate that she decided to have the vomit cleaned off her.
I see.
I go in and I greet her and tell her, we found the door. It was ajar.
So she's eating these chocolates from one of the top chocolatiers in the city. This, very ornate box, and she looks at you with this questioning look on her face, as if to say, "Why are you telling me?" Pops one in her mouth and says,
No, we're
nodding.
just checking on everyone. There could be an intruder. It could be anything. We're just making sure you're safe.
"Swordmaster Wyoming, as always, your attention to detail is impeccable." I appreciate your dedication to my safety. I assume you've already checked on the Green Duke.
Of course. Everything was okay.
Excellent. Well, I won't tell you how to do your job.
That's good because the swords are heavy. You probably couldn't even carry one.
If there's nothing else,
Okay.
Nice.
So he leaves.
Take her easy.
so over the next few hours, go ahead.
Real quick, would Gary have any way of getting in touch with Abner and Maxim?
Yeah, of course. You have their. You guys know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would
yeah.
just I think Gary would also let each of them know about the door that was breached, just so it's more sets of eyes, and he just wants them to know what's happening as well.
Gotcha.
Make sure the boys are
Yeah.
on the lookout, and
Have your swordsman keep an eye on them.
God damn it.
So there's the keep of the palace proper, which is this gargantuan building, and then there's the garden surrounding it, and then there's an outer wall, which is its own structure in and of itself. And the breach was actually on the palace itself, so somebody would have had to get in through the wall and then get into the palace. And there's multiple. The security system is sophisticated and overlapping. So I mean, it's always possible that some sort of malfunction and no one actually got in, which is what could explain why the sensors didn't trip.
I'm guessing not.
Wow.
Yeah, Abner is going to have his crew check for any abnormalities in the electrical systems. Make sure that's not the case.
Okay.
As soon as Maxim takes the call, while the bunch are checking for electrical abnormalities, Vito's going to send a couple of huntsmen to check out the actual wall surrounding the palace.
Okay. So it's called the Wall. It's actually like one massive continuous building. It has like interior munitions dump and armories and
But with its own security
guardhouses. With its
system.
own security
Correct.
system.
Yeah, the Night's Watch.
Now,
Yeah.
the Wu-Tang Guard is the immediate palace. The Wall would be like the Jormagon army's position. So that actually falls under the command of the Wolf.
Is this the Pink Floyd brigade? Is
I
that
don't
what
get the reference. No, that would be Wolfram Wendt, who is third in line. He's the commander of the army, and it would be
War
his
Master.
person. Yeah, the War Master.
Wait, are you saying the War Master who commands the army is third in line for the throne?
Yep.
I'm sure that means nothing.
It means nothing, Todd.
Yeah.
So just to remind you guys, first in line would be Griselda, then her brother Silas, then Wolfram, then Corey's character Abner. If, the rules of formal succession were followed in the event the Green Duke did not directly name an heir. So Corey, you're sending some of the bunch to
Yes.
to investigate.
Yeah, just checking to make sure it's not, which is obviously not. I'm just saying things.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not. So
I mean, yeah, we're checking the electricity, but it's obviously not the electrical issue because that would make this boring. like the whole campaign is like, found the glitch. The end. Tune in next week.
Tune in next week when there's a water leak.
yeah, the campaign is just home repairs
Yeah.
to the Prost
This is
Palace.
what happens when you flip a palace.
Yeah.
Have your HVAC boys keep an eye on it.
See what happens when you buy a palace that's not exactly in top condition.
Today we're installing a ceiling fan.
Money Pit, Dune Edition. Well, I won't make you roll anything there because, obviously it's not an electrical issue.
Yeah. I mean, my dudes are also like keeping an eye out for anybody that seems out of the ordinary there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So over the next few hours, the other important members of the house begin to arrive. Silas arrives with an entourage, and Silas, as I said, is Griselda's brother, and he is the envoy, the chief house diplomat. He's a bit of a cad, known to have a number of different lovers. Wolfram arrives next, dressed as a general military uniform. He's accompanied by officers from the army. And over the course of the evening, Borso Kern arrives. Kern is way down the line of succession. But he is one of the few important surviving members of a rival clan, and he essentially runs parliament. And then Naomi Hake, the Bene Gesserit consort of the Green Duke, who actually has apartments out in the city and does not live in the palace. She's not in the Duke's good graces, even though he's unconscious, because she's yet to bear him a child, which is pretty rare for the Bene Gesserit. Now, she has not been his consort for long, only about 2 years. But still, Bene Gesserit can essentially conceive whenever they want to. And the last to arrive is Jana Parwakov Tim,
Okay.
who is he's a mentat, essentially the repository of beer and hops knowledge, and he's actually Parliament's. He's known as Parliament's mentat, but as the real power in Parliament is whoever that the Green Duke appoints to be the speaker. Then Parliament essentially at this point is a body that functions as a part of House Wendt. It has no power outside of it. So is there any? So the first thing that will happen, the first important part of the float celebration is the Feast of the First Call, which obviously you're all going to be at. Abner and Maxim as attendees and Gary as head of security. Is there anything anybody wants to do in particular before the feast begins?
Gary is working. He's just keeping an eye on everything. He has his Wu-Tang guard stationed at various points throughout the palace and at the big party. And he keeps trying to signal to Abner to fix him a to-go plate. Because he's very hungry.
So, Austin, what kind of headquarters does Maxim have?
Picture like the station house for an intelligence agent. It's not a headquarters, but it's kind of like a pop-up operations center.
Okay, so you're about to leave. You're putting on your coat over your finery to go to the palace, and a report essentially comes in. It wouldn't be teletype, I guess, but it'd be kind of it's basically like something that receives a device that receives encoded messages and just prints them out. But it prints out this report, and all it says is 6 battalions in Keyburg on the Wolf's orders arrived an hour ago. Keyburg is a suburb of Prost. It's on the other side of a mountain, and there's a secure tunnel through the mountain that is never flooded. And generally, 6 battalions would be a significant chunk of the Jormungand army.
Where does that tunnel lead?
To Prost, to the capital. And so Maxim departs his station, and the float has arrived in earnest. The rain is pouring down as you arrive, which brings us to Abner. Any last-minute preparations that he's making at police security headquarters?
Wait, I'm not in the palace?
You could be.
Okay.
Have you already arrived?
I'd say if Griselda and the rest of the family is arriving, I'm arriving, and I've already made all my shit. You know,
Okay.
They check the electricity, they check the HVAC, they checked. Abner does one last thing he checks on once he gets to the palace is he goes to the kitchen area to make sure that garlic bread will be a part of the feast.
Of course.
Yeah, okay, good.
But let's make a roll to represent your security guys. I'm thinking your communication and let's see, what drive do you think for them inspecting the palace's systems?
Duty. So altogether, that's 13.
Yeah, so this is going to be difficulty 1.
So I need to get under 13.
Yes, with at least one of the dice. You're rolling 2d20.
Yes. 11 and 12.
And it was, okay, so you got 2 successes.
Okay, it's great.
So one of those is, completes this task. The other you have extra that you could turn into a momentum, or you could ask me a question. The first thing is determined, you get a clandestine report from one of your boys in your chambers. They basically tell you there definitely was not any kind of malfunction. The systems are running as close to exemplary as can be expected. Mm-hmm. Now, you could use your other success to use a momentum right now to get more information, essentially to ask me a question, or you could just turn it into a momentum in the pool.
I'm going to ask you a question more about Wolfram and what is known about Wolfram, because I don't think we've dealt with him much in this game.
Now, the question will need to something that could be answered by what just happened. Essentially, your men going through the security systems.
Has to be a result of the action you take.
Yeah, the relevance of the question, and it has to be something that could be discerned from what just happened in the fiction. You can just ask me about Wolfram in general.
What's Wolfram like?
I'll put that momentum up here.
Yes, we will take a momentum.
Mm-hmm. Wolfram, he's known as a fairly capable commander.
I don't imagine there's a lot of wars happening on our planet.
No, but there's there's House Wendt used to be Clan Wendt. There are still other clans on Jormungand that have their own power bases. Now, the leaders of them were all killed 40 years ago by the Green Duke. Mm-hmm. They have new leaders now, and some have made peace with House Wendt being in charge. Others have not.
Right.
So while there's not a lot of pitched battles, there's the occasional guerrilla action, as there's some more militant members. There's a number of terrorist organizations around the planet that are either clandestinely or sometimes openly supported by other clans. So it's more of a Northern Ireland troubles, rather than Russia and Afghanistan. He's the spitting image of Leopold. Looks exactly like the Leopold, the Green Duke, when he was younger.
He's comatose?
No. He is
weird for a general.
Let's say he's obsessive, careful, and he has a greedy streak. He's not particularly arrogant, but it is his opinion that he is the most capable member of the house currently.
Okay.
And there's an argument to be made that he's not wrong. That's what you would know. I mean, you've met him a number of times.
Yeah. It's my cousin.
Yeah, it's your cousin.
Wolfham's.
He hates that nickname.
So tell me the name of the suburb again.
Keyburg.
Keyburg. What is the significance of Keyburg?
The Prost, the capital city, is surrounded by mountains. Keyburg is on the eastern side. There's a big rail line that goes from Keyburg to Prost that stretches out to the rest of the planet's network. There's a secure mountain tunnel that is protecting its flood. It's one of the few locations that the capital is sure to maintain lines of communication with during the float.
So a main vein as far as transportation goes?
Especially during the float. Now, there's other ways to access the capital, but they're less reliable during the float.
Yeah, if that tunnel, it's protected from the storms and stuff, obviously. Yeah. But if water does get in, is there a way to drain the main vein?
God damn it.
What? What?
There's a number of safeguards in place
we're very obsessed with plumbing and things.
To drain the main vein.
Okay, cool.
What I'm saying is there's no strategic reason to have those guys that close to the capital, because the capital is not going to be threatened during the float. Okay. It's probably arguably safer than it is any other time of the year.
It would be like if you turned on the news and they're like the Marine. They're like 6 battalions of Marines who have suddenly just appeared outside of Washington D.C. and nobody knows why.
Yeah, on Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
They're in Arlington.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Right. Except this is being kept off out of the main communication channels.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Can I roll to see if Gary is successful in getting Abner to fix him a to-go plate?
That's really just up to Corey. Say yes or no.
Yeah, I got you there, bud. Just have your boys keep an eye on things.
Thanks.
So the Feast of First Call takes place in the Grand Hall, which is essentially an oversized German beer hall, dark wood paneling, all these portraits around it of important events in House Wendt. There's one big main table where the most important people sit, and then there are other tables surrounding it where their aides and functionaries, minor house members will sit. There's Wutengard all along the outer perimeter. There's a kitchen to one side with doors coming in and out. There's a big fireplace that's warm. There'd be some kind of the equivalent of whatever like a string quartet is in the Imperium.
Balisets and such.
Yeah. Of course, the balisets, which is the only DUNE instrument we know of.
Yeah.
So normally the tradition for the Feast of First Call is that the Green Duke opens with a toast and kind of gives a speech about the state of family affairs. Last year, it was a very difficult speech for him to make because he had started to become ill. This year, he is comatose.
Oh.
Is he there?
No, he's not.
Propped up.
No.
You gonna toast us, Uncle?
Yeah.
It's like Grandpa in Texas Chainsaw.
That's exactly what.
One of the big controversies among his aides in the past few days was whether or not to wheel the Green Duke down.
Oh God. People are trying to eat.
And finally, and finally, the doctor just put his foot down and said, "No, absolutely not.
Right.
He's dying. If he has a moment of lucidity, it's not going to be in this very stressful environment in which he doesn't know what's going on.
And he smells.
Yeah, it's just
It is.
gross.
He does. It's ripe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So his seat at the head of the table is left open, but standing by it are Volkhart, his old retired bodyguard, who is essentially his companion and drinking buddy, and Choran Vid, the house mentat. She's wearing this conservative, unrevealing dress, standing with her hands folded together. She has ritual cheek scarring which is probably from a traditional whatever planet she's from. And Volkhart raises a mug to get everyone's attention. The room goes quiet, and he takes a drink and gestures to Cho. Cho Ranvid steps forward. The Green Duke, in a moment of lucidity in the past few days, bid me bring a message to the assembled personages of noble House Wendt. The Green Duke, long may he yet live, has named a successor. Yeah, there's a collective intake of breath.
I'm going to use passive scrutiny right here for just a moment.
What does that do?
That gives me one free obtain info.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to look over at Griselda and Wolfram.
Okay.
Okay. What are their reactions to this?
So you get one free piece of information.
Yes.
Then I'll let you get one of their reactions for free.
Okay.
Which one do you want?
Griselda's.
There's no surprise on her face.
Okay.
Absolutely none. Cool as a cucumber. In fact, it almost seems as if she's been expecting this.
I'll give you another free one about Abner's reaction. He's going, what? a chunk of garlic bread falls out of his mouth.
The men,
Gary's just enjoying the plate of jalapeno poppers that Abner got for him in the kitchen.
the mentat continues, and she gestures to Griselda, and she says, Griselda Wendt is the named successor to the Green Duke.
Abner from the other side is like, well, fuck.
The Wu-Tang guard at various points throughout the reception hall, like exchange money because they've been taking bets on it.
Yeah. So at that, Volkhart steps back to next to Choran and raises the mug again. Says, "To the new head of House Wendt."
So this is an immediate thing?
No, she's
when
the
he's dead.
heir.
Oh,
She's
okay.
the new heir.
Yeah.
Appointed. So there's no longer any question. And he says, "To the future Duchess." And everyone obligingly raises their mugs.
Yeah.
I presume you're all taking part.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a...
Fucking bitch.
Everyone joins together in a toast. A few people give kind words. Silas stands and says some nice things about his sister. Wolfram says nothing. and is not staring her down at all. He's just like his eyes are drilling a hole in the wall beyond her. And then that is done, and the food starts coming out. And everyone.
Congrats to my cousin. I'm glad you got the puke off.
Does Abner stand up and say things during this moment?
Absolutely.
Okay.
First, cheers to the kitchen. The garlic bread's impeccable. to my cousin, I'm glad you got the puke off. Yeah.
Yeah. So Griselda gives Abner a
I'm
nod.
going to have my boys keep an eye on you, cuz.
The feast continues. Is anybody doing anything in particular in the feast?
Does Abner notice that Wolfram's looking kind of pissy?
Everybody notices.
Gary is also like, marking down reactions and,
Yeah, I mean, everybody had kind of assumed Griselda was going to be the heir.
Sure.
That was the assumption. Wolfram leaves midway through the second course, which is unheard of. They're just bringing out like some kind of
double garlic bread. It's like
Maxim.
it'd been like coq au vin.
Maxim actually makes a passing comment on. He looks over at Abner and says, "Like, did you notice this? The pork chops are still pink."
working on my garlic bread.
I'll be right back. And Maxim takes his plate and goes and speaks with a waiter.
Okay.
Who is a member of the Veto Huntsman.
Sure.
Basically leaves instructions for Wolfram to be followed.
Okay. So Wolfram departs with his bodyguard of officers. And yeah, one of your huntsmen will follow him to see where he's going. Okay. Surreptitiously.
I would assume that Gary would also send a couple of Wu-Tang guards to follow at a distance. Or...
Well, there's Wu-Tang all over the palace.
Yeah.
So
Okay, yeah, we're good.
and we don't know about the army being out there yet.
Right.
He hasn't told us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. So the feast continues. Eventually, Austin, you get a call on. I assume you have like an earpiece. Mm-hmm. They essentially communicate. He returned to his apartments in the palace. He did not leave the palace because by now the float is in earnest, and even through the multi-layer shield and armor plating, you can still hear the rain. Mm-hmm. So it would have been foolish. If Wolfram had been to make a move, it would have been to leave. But
tell me a little about the kind of structure of this feast. Is everyone kind of formally? If I was going to have a word with Griselda, I would need to pick the right moment. Correct?
Yes, which you could do. I mean, basically, part of what's going on is everyone is taking their turn to come and sit next to Griselda and congratulate her.
Fantastic.
And of course,
fantastic.
Pledge how they're going to be loyal to the new Duchess. And is there anything we can do to make this transition easier? Blah, 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 blah. Kissing the ring.
All right. Then in due course, Maxim kind of hobbles his way along the table.
You're walking on the table? It's
a bold move, Cotton.
For a spy guy, you're pretty obvious.
My congratulations, Lady Wendt. A worthy successor.
She thanks you for your acknowledgement, and she's finished her beer, so she has actually an after dinner wine that she's drinking.
Oh,
weird.
Not brand loyal, but whatever.
All right, so Gary's just drinking some beer, having some jalapeno poppers, having a good time. He goes over to the string quartet and asks them if they know any Bad Company songs.
They don't, because I don't know what that is.
So Maxim finishes kind of, showering praise on Griselda, and Maxim takes a seat and says, word has reached me that 6 battalions from the Wolf's army have been moved to Keyburg. Do you know anything about this?
So she looks at you real quiet and blinks and says, no, I did not know that. And she coughs a bit, takes out her handkerchief, coughs again. Says, are you sure they've been moved?
My sources are fairly reliable.
Fairly.
Kinda.
She coughs into her handkerchief and she pulls it back and you can see there's blood on it. And she stands up. There's this wild look in her eye and she starts scratching at her stomach and then she is ripping her clothes open, this crazed look in her eye, and you can see blood welling out of, like, on top of her skin. Like there's something coming out, and then her stomach just burst and her entrails spill out over the table, and she is screaming. And you can feel this, you can hear this acidic hiss. The organs that are coming out have been eaten by some kind of substance. And she's screaming and spewing blood out of her mouth and just collapses over her chair. Needless to say, this causes a bit of disturbance among the other guests.
Abner stands up and shouts, "Oi, I think something's wrong with Griselda."
No one hears that because everyone is screaming.
Abner, get a doctor.
Gary puts a napkin over his plate of jalapeno poppers so they don't get any guts on them.
Yeah, so it's clear that there's no doctor that's fixing this. She's dead the moment she hits the ground.
Yeah, that's not why Maxim's calling for one.
Okay. So, yeah, Bedlam breaks out. Some people are running. Like every other man is drawing a sword. People are looking around for any sort of threat, but nothing else happens.
Gary sends message to the Wu-Tang guard who are there guarding the entrances to lock it down and make sure no one gets out.
Perfect. I was just about to ask you to do that.
Thank
you.
Klaxons start going off and throughout the palace. Metal shutters start closing over entrances. The reserve guard is called up. Essentially, the palace goes into lockdown. The wall outside the palace, all the floodlights come on. Army troopers start grabbing gear, running from their feasts, right? Some of them half drunk, pulling on uniforms. The main gate, this huge steel monster just starts grinding closed to seal the palace off from the city. Maxim is standing over, blood pooling on the carpets as whatever it is that killed Griselda is still eating away at her abdomen.
Maxim kind of waves people away and saying, "No one touch
It's fine.
her."
She's gonna walk it off.
No, we were just on the third course. No, Maxim kind of waving people away, saying, "No one touch her. No one touch her."
Gary,
No problem there, mate.
Gary looks at Maxim and says, "Maybe it was the pink pork."
So two of Silas's entourage are holding him back. He has this stricken look on his face, and he's like, "Griselda!" It's her brother, her younger brother.
I walk over to is it Cho Ranvid, the Mentat?
She's gone.
Oh, she's gone.
She's gone. She left shortly after the opening toast to return to the Green Duke side.
Okay.
Now, Gary, as the swordmaster, is the current kind of just head of security.
He's the head of the Wu-Tang Guard, head of palace security.
Okay. Gary, is the palace locked down?
It's locked down.
Can you organize just a mass pilgrimage into the general quarters of the palace? We need all of the guests organized into rooms where we can interview them individually.
I don't want anybody leaving this room.
I agree with Abner that we need to keep everyone here.
Thanks, my dude.
Oh, can we lock down just the single room?
That was what I called for.
Okay,
Yeah,
even better. Even better.
Do whatever we want in
I mean,
life.
if the killer is there, we stand a better.
Even better.
I didn't want anybody leaving.
Now, obviously in the Dune universe, poison is a common tool of assassination, which is why there are in any meal there are these things called poison sniffers, and they're machines that detect poisons. And there's one of them. They're these floating machines, and there's one of them that just floats above the main table, and it never alerted.
Okay. I grab one of my men. I'm like, all right, check the poison sniffer. I want everybody who left this place. I want Cho Ranvid. I want Wolfram. I want everyone watched. I want them to be told to come back to the feast hall immediately.
Yes, sir. And they start carrying your orders out.
Thank you, by the way. I say that. I'm nice to my men.
Yes, sir.
Maxim pulls Gary to the side, just kind of grabbing onto his lapel and pulling him in close and saying, 6 battalions of the Wolf's God have been moved to Keyburg.
Why would they be doing that here? It's the float.
That's so crazy.
That's the question I was asking Griselda right before she died. She had no idea.
There are many bad things that are happening here.
I mean, you're not wrong.
That's all I got right now.
So, Corey,
Yes.
Let's see. Maxim sent for a doctor, which Sites dispatches one of the house physicians arrives. It's not Sites. It's not the Green Duke's personal doctor. He's with the Green Duke.
Yeah.
Cho Ranvid is sealed within the Green Duke's personal chambers with Volkart.
Okay.
Wolfram sends a message with one of your men that he'll be along eventually.
First, I go up to the doctor that's arrived. He's like, shoot me straight. She going to make it?
He looks at you, looks at her, and he says, you know she might pull through.
I want to know what she died of within the hour.
Well, we need to move her to the morgue, first off, and we'll conduct an autopsy immediately.
Let's get this out of here.
Within the hour.
Gary asked the doctor if he has any antacid because he ate too many jalapeno poppers.
Gary, can some of your guardsmen accompany the doctor and Griselda's body?
Yes, of course.
I want what everything she's put in her body analyzed. I want the plates, the forks. I want the butter knife, the little fork that people use for some things. I just use one fork for everything. I know it has a purpose. I just don't use it. I don't see the point. It's a fucking fork.
So
why does one have 3 prongs? Stupid.
A medical team in full gear, rubber gear, the big suits comes in and they just start collecting every item that was around Griselda.
Leave the garlic bread.
They take her chair, they take everything. Like a guy comes in and cuts out the carpet around it, wherever her blood dropped, basically. And they take it down to the morgue, and the house, of course, has a complete lab. Mm-hmm. And your message that Choran Vid goes down to conduct the scientific analysis.
Okay. Gary, should we put a guardsman on each of the family members?
I've already done that.
Okay.
What do you think I am, stupid?
And I do send urgent message to Wolfram, like, get your ass here.
Obviously, the feast is done, and Abner's men, some huntsmen, the Wu-Tang Guard, all the guests are questioned. The information is compiled. The autopsy is going on for the rest of the evening. Nothing.
Pretty cool.
Nothing of
nice time.
It's nice. You have a nice time. Nothing of note occurs.
Pretty good.
There's
wasn't
no
boring like last year's.
There's no real clues unearthed. Wolfram never shows up. He's just in his quarters, which with the guard outside, the army guards outside his apartment's doubled. Nobody's sure where those guys came from.
No one's in there with him.
His people.
Can I make a roll to see if my huntsman waiter could point out any of the staff who were unfamiliar? Or Maxim does know about you told us about the break-in, correct?
Yeah, well, we already checked to make sure there wasn't any, but we never found out like about the break-in or anything.
Yeah.
So we know everybody's in the palace right now. They've all been vetted.
Well, yeah, but the staff and everything?
Yeah. There were no temps.
Now
remember,
we're obviously aware of the breach in that sector, though.
Yeah.
So I the 3 of us separately would be thinking to ourselves, we need to find out what the fuck that was about.
So remember, the whole palace was searched. The only place that weren't would have been personal apartments of people who hadn't arrived yet.
Right. I sent some bunch to inspect Griselda's apartment as well, because we don't need her permission anymore.
You don't.
Yep.
That's very true. Okay, so the particular waiter, Austin, no, but you could make a roll for your huntsman to see if anybody has noticed any unusual activity.
Okay, I'll do that.
Well, because presumably you've had a covert team in the palace for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
That seems like something Maxim would do.
Yeah.
I picture his huntsman like Buster in Arrested Development, just like leaning around corners.
All right, so then I'll make a discipline. Would this be espionage or infiltration?
I'm going to go with communicate because this is, basically you're getting reports and it's really for you to pick out anything, make sure they're reporting the right sorts of things and you're picking out the right information. But you pick your drive.
Okay, I'll go from duty.
So this is going to be difficulty 3.
So 13.
You're going to use any momentum.
Yeah, I'm going to spend a momentum to get an extra die.
Okay.
All right, there's a 1, so that's 2 successes.
That's 2.
And then an 11, so I got 3.
They don't notice anybody that shouldn't be there. They do report that earlier in the day, Silas visited Griselda's apartments when she was at the Ministry of the Treasury conducting official business. They weren't able to get in and know what he was doing in there, but they know that was the only really unusual activity they noted surrounding Griselda. And Silas, again, reminder, that's her younger brother.
Also, I think while all this is happening, Gary himself is going to go to the Duke's chambers to check on him. I mean, the heir was just murdered.
Sure.
So he's going to knock on the door again. And how are you doing in there?
Yeah, you're allowed in. At that point, Choran Vid has gone down to the labs, and it's just Dr. Seitz and the Green Duke. And the Green Duke is, of course, unconscious. The machines are making that sucking noise as it's siphoning infection off his brain, and the smell hits you getting punched in the face.
Volkart is not there.
Volkart is not there.
Okay, Abner's going down to talk to Choran Vid.
Okay, so Todd, do you want to ask Dr. Seitz anything? This room is secure. There's 8 Wu-Tang guard outside the door.
I just came to check on the Duke. How's he doing?
Situation is not changed. Obviously, there's no way we can tell him that his appointed heir is dead. Which
There was a murder down there.
Yes. Swordmaster Wyoming. The news was brought to me.
Okay, I'm going now.
So Abner goes down to the labs, which are full of white suited laboratory technicians. Essentially, it's the Mentat's kind of personal domain.
Okay.
And they're analyzing every scrap of material that was around Griselda.
I go up to Choran Vid. Did you hear what happened?
Like in front of her
Like a
is
dead
like bits of Griselda that have been bisected off the body and are being examined. And she looks at you. Are you referring to something other than the murder?
So you did hear. Well,
Somebody walks behind you two carrying Griselda's hand. Just
if there was a backup plan, successor-wise.
no.
The old man doesn't think ahead, does he?
You're gonna roll your communicate
Okay.
to maybe pick up on some body language. What drive are you gonna use?
Truth.
Okay, yeah, that's appropriate.
Okay. So I need a 12.
Difficulty 4.
So what does that mean?
You need 4 successes.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to win.
So what? So you got a 12.
Yeah.
I assume you don't have any focuses that apply.
My truth focus is I decide what's true.
I don't think that would apply in this case.
To get 4 successes, I either need to crit twice or use momentum.
Yes.
Yeah, we have 3 momentum.
This is so important. You should definitely use momentum. It could reveal everything.
I doubt it.
Would I lie to you?
Yes. You're a bad person.
That's agreed.
All right, I'll fucking use momentum. It's stupid and I hate it.
Yay!
So I'm rolling 4 dice. I got to get it under 12. Is that right?
Yep.
There ain't no way. Yeah.
Yeah!
Yeah, I got 1 success. It's stupid.
Did you roll any 20s?
No.
Dang.
Well, I did roll 1, but that doesn't matter.
That's a double.
Yeah, okay, great.
So you got 2 successes?
Yeah, pretty great. Stupid.
So when you say the Duke's not very good at making plans, Choran Vid, her eyes...
I kind of elbow her like, right.
Yeah, her eyes flick towards you, and you don't... There's some subtext there, but it just washes over Abner.
Yeah.
Like a child at the beach. So she says, I can tell you what killed Griselda.
All right, I'll accept this information.
It's called chetratocin.
Chetratocin, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Would you like me to spell it?
Nah.
No, okay.
We don't write shit down.
It's expensive and rare, and it gets past poison snoopers because technically it is not a poison. It is a hypercorrosive. It lies inert until activated by a secondary agent.
Garlic?
It can be anything that the person deploying it wants it to be, as long as the chetratocin is programmed properly. Then its molecules reconfigure, and it becomes a hypercorrosive. It can melt through highliner hull in a sufficient quantity. Right now, it's probably still eating into the floor of the grand ballroom.
Well, have your boys taken a look at that?
We can synthesize a counteragent that will stop it. But
So we can save her?
no.
She's had a shitty week, the old bud, hadn't she? She got puked on. Her boyfriend broke up with her.
And then her internal organs
she's-
were
yeah,
liquefied
it-
by a super acid.
That was, bad, like I said, bad week for the old bud.
Seems like one of those was greater in orders of magnitude.
Well, breakups are never easy.
But it is rarely used. It is, of course, illegal in the Imperium. There are only a number of groups that use tetrodotoxin on any...
Yes, I definitely do not have any.
You don't.
With my secret police.
It's super hard to get.
I disagree.
You can disagree. But I don't think you want to have...
I'm confusing Chetramosin, which is
a painkiller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right then, Chorin. Is that her name? Is it Chorin?
It's 3 names. Cho Ranvid is her name.
Okay. All right, CRV. You keep.
Jesus.
You just keep an eye on things. I want you to share with me. You make sure I know everything.
Of course, Marshall.
Also, have your boys keep an eye on things for me. And I'll leave. Yeah, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to try to regroup with Maxim and Gary. I'm going to tell them what killed her for sure.
So presumably this meeting would take place in Gary's office.
Okay.
What is that? What does that look like? What is Gary Wyoming's office? How is it decorated?
Black light posters. Sure, why not?
Framed recipe for jalapeno poppers.
Yeah, he's just, there's different swords on the wall, like crossed swords, things
Lots of
like
swords,
that.
I
Lots of
assume.
swords.
I picture like an auto garage, and there's like some nudie photo.
He's got some chicks on the wall.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you guys are around a table in Wyoming's office. There are different reports from different parts of the security forces laid out on the table. Mm-hmm. There's still images of Griselda's autopsy.
Yeah. I share with those two what I know about the corrosive that was used, and I'll let them know that Wolfram is in no hurry to come back.
I share with Maxim shares with them the intel on Silas being inside Griselda's quarters.
I do want
while
to point
she
out
was
you
away.
you never told Abner that the army is building up either. Can you tell me that?
Maybe if you're good. Gents, something is building here. Silas was spotted earlier in Griselda's quarters while she was away on business.
What was he doing in there?
No one knows. Abner, it was reported that 6 battalions from the War Master's army have been gathered in Keyburg.
Ah, fuck. That sucks.
So
What does that mean anything? to
Yeah,
you?
it means the army's building up. It's gonna hurt us if we fuck. God damn.
So at that point,
Fuck.
one of the Wu-Tang Guard comes in, leans over to Gary, and hands him a note.
That's a real note you passed.
Yeah, it's a real note.
Cool.
I have to tell you something. Wolfram has left the palace.
Ah,
He's no longer down there.
That motherfucking.
Abner, can your people pick him up?
No, my boys can't keep an eye on him now.
Why?
He left.
Because it's raining.
Yeah, the float's going on outside. The army's building up. Fuck, this whole week has
Wait a
been
minute.
shit.
You said that poison had to be activated by a secondary agent?
Yeah.
Gary, we need to isolate the vat of house wine.
Oh, yeah, she was drinking wine. I thought that was weird.
After her dinner, she's one of the only ones who does this. She was drinking a glass of the house wine.
Weird.
And if it was infused with the secondary agent,
Why does she never drink the beer?
she was finishing her meal with a glass of the house wine.
Yeah, there's no beer and wine.
And that
Yeah, you got it.
and it could be reasonably assumed by someone who knows Griselda that she would be one of the only ones to do this. It would be fairly reliable
Yeah, I knew that.
to plan for that.
Technically, I could be a suspect. But I'm going to shoot you straight, boys. I didn't do it.
Can any of your people analyze the container and see if we can find out maybe who all tampered with it?
Are you talking about the actual vat of wine itself?
Wherever it's dispensed.
Okay.
Sure, they could do that.
We have our assumptions and we have our suspicions, but we need confirmations.
Seems to me the most likely suspect right now is Wolfram. But I don't like Silas digging around in her digs when she's not there either. It's just rude.
Abner, I think you might be the best one to sit and have a conversation with Silas.
Yes, I agree. I'm going to do that.
Gary, how can we see about getting Wolfram back into the palace?
He's left the city. Is that what you said, Go?
He's left the palace.
He's gone. And nobody
Well, it was the Wu-Tang guard noted his move.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
nobody,
they don't leave the palace unless ordered to.
But we haven't heard. Nobody saw where he was going.
No, none of your other agents have reported in yet.
Yeah, the boys are slacking this week.
Well, I mean, again, it's possible that there are huntsmen or uh-oh boys trailing Wolfram.
Right.
But I mean, if this just happened, I mean, they might not have had time to get a message back to either of you.
Okay, so we haven't heard. Okay.
So at that point, Abner notices that his coded communicator is blinking. So someone's trying to call him.
I'm sorry, guys. I got to take this. I grabbed my communicator. Yellow.
I must apologize on not being able to return to the feast. I understood there was some excitement. It's Wolfram.
Yeah, your sister's dead.
Tragic.
It's fucked up. You should have seen it.
Don't worry. I'll bring in sufficient forces to lock down the city.
I think we're good here right now. I'd really appreciate it if you come back right now. Just you. We don't need your forces. We got the Wu-Tang, we got my uh-oh bunch, and we got huntsmen all over the place. It's pretty cool. And regular army guys.
Don't worry. I'll be back.
It's a bit of overkill there, Wolfie.
Not yet. And Lango's dead.
Guys, I'm going to go ahead and shoot you straight. That was ominous.
So that's where we'll end this week.
Okay.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this rendition of Macbeth. No, Space Macbeth.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. Thank you guys again for listening. Follow us on all the Twitters and all that. Our Patreon, patreon.com/bastardquest. Thanks to everybody who's got in on that. Check out our sponsor.
Barrel and Bond.
Yep, they're located at 100 Broadway in Paducah, Kentucky.
Right at the end.
I looked up the address and it was real easy to remember. Right? Yes. No, that place is rad. If you're a bourbon lover, man, you're not going to do much better in the entire state. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's a chill place. There's not a lot of ruckus.
And there's no one working there who's not 100% knowledgeable when you need to come in and have a tasting.
About anything. They're just very knowledgeable.
No, that's where I got my vasectomy.
Yeah.
So
No, it's a nice chill place with great bourbon. If you get to know the people there, they'll take you down there. The basement's kind of like the Deer Hunter.
They'll take you down.
There's like one of those a lot of sweaty Vietnamese men
Sure.
betting on
Sure.
if you want to play Russian roulette or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, it's nice. But yeah, thank you guys again for listening.
Yep, I'm Kyle.
I'm Todd.
I'm Corey.
I'm Austin.